as the dollar is worth less and less, things that compete with the dollar are definitionally worth more and more. And everybody who has a little bit of gold and silver tucked away knows that, or they wouldn't have any gold and silver tucked away. It's the same thing with Bitcoin, right? The dollar is going to become much more worthless than it is right now. And that's just a given. And when that happens, Bitcoin will be infinitely more attractive. It'll also, by then, be infinitely more expensive. Adjusted for inflation, it might not be, but you'll have to pay more dollars to get it. So, well, that's just how it goes, right? Nothing costs what it did in 1957.
It's interesting. There's a James C. Scott. He was an old Yale professor. I think he might have passed recently, but if he's still living, bless him. He's an incredible, brilliant man. But he had this idea that he called Irish democracy. And I don't know if he coined the term or not, but he basically describes people who had been living under an imperial thumb for so long that they basically learned how not to comply. Mm-hmm. They weren't loud about it. They didn't raise a fuss, because if you stick your head up, somebody's going to knock it down. But they figured out ways to not comply or work in the underground and this sort of thing. Same with the Eastern Bloc. During the Soviet era, there were syndicates and networks and markets in the underground that they would call black market, we would call gray, that worked, and they just did it. Do you think we're going to reach that point with the monetary system and the economic?
I suspect. Look, there's always a market in everything all the time, and we decide collectively what we think is legitimate and illegitimate, and that's not, that's an unremarkable assertion. There are all kinds of illegitimate markets. Do you really want children to be bought and sold? Of course you don't, right? That's an illegitimate market. Do you want nuclear material, fissionable material to be bought and sold on the open market? No, you don't. Okay. I just picked the two easy ones.
Right. What about kidneys?
Look, I'm fine with kidneys. It's hearts that I worry about. Well, it is. You can live with one kidney. If a person came to me and he said, "I will give you $250 million for your heart," I would have to take it. Why? Because I have a family and they're important. And if I could give them that, their lives would be wonderful forever.
Maybe. Money's not everything, but I hear what you're saying. They'd be taken care of financially forever.
Yeah, and you see the problem there. It's an obvious problem, and it's one that would come up. I mean, these are on the margins. They're not right down the middle of the street. You know, if you want to donate a kidney, great. If you want to sell a kidney, I don't care. All it means is there's going to be more kidneys for more people who need kidneys, and that's a good thing. Right. So, you know, there are markets in everything. I think almost all of them are perfectly legitimate, regardless of what the government says. Right. So right now, I really want to try DMT. I've said this many times. Sounds really impressive. The government has decided that I can't do that. Markets have decided that maybe I can if I can locate the market. Heretofore, haven't been able to, damn my luck. But I'm going to keep looking, and it's like that with all kinds of things. Power to me.
Amen. Well, that is, wow, there are two different directions I want to go in now, because there's both really interesting things, and you talking about DMT made me forget about the first one.
Let's maybe stay away from that one, lest we all get yelled at later.
Right. But I agree with you. Most what we call black markets are not legitimate, because the term legitimate really just means legal, but you mean legitimate in the sense of justifiable, or it is unjustifiable that they are proscribed. I agree with you about that. I think, and I think a lot of people these days are warming up to that idea since marijuana has been, cannabis has slowly been decriminalized around the country. And
guess what? The world didn't come to a glorious end because of it.
No. I mean, all the states that legalized first are really in the shitter. You know, it was Oregon, Washington, Colorado, California. Those are all states that are swirling the bowl, but not because of marijuana or cannabis. It's because of the other kinds of insane batshittery that their political classes believe in, and to some extent their electorate. But this makes me think of libertarians, okay? And
I think about them a lot too.
do you?
I
Well,
do.
let's talk about them if you want.
Sure.
Maybe I can make you some enemies.
Well, I can guarantee you make me some enemies.
Well, we have to admit, I don't call myself a libertarian anymore.
You'd have to be crazy to call yourself a libertarian now.
Well, tell me why.
Because all it does is call to mind naked people running up on stage and other people wearing tinfoil hats.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not part of that. I'm a classical liberal, Max. I'm in league with Jefferson and Madison, right? Those crazy libertarian kids from the 1770s, 1780s who had this ridiculous thought that government should be small, budgets should be balanced, and rights should be protected. So that sounds like a prescription for me right there.
If the brand weren't so toxic, associated, for example, with people wearing tinfoil hats and jumping up on the stage naked, and I remember, that image is seared into my brain, actually.
The people who get naked in public are exactly the people who should not get naked in public.
And should not run for any elective office either, but never you mind. Is it that it's a toxic brand, or do you think that there's some really goofy things that libertarians believe?
I don't think those are mutually exclusive.
Okay. Let's talk about some of those goofy libertarian things.
In a perfect world, right, in a world that actually made sense, that was logical, libertarian and classical liberal, there would be no variance. The Venn diagram would overlap completely. So that's what I think should be the case. What is the case? Oh, man, here we go. Libertarians. Well, first, they don't even want to talk to anybody who can't pass a doctrinal test, a purity test of some kind, right? So after what I just said, they don't want to talk to me about anything. They say things, idiotic things. Anthony and I were asked to moderate the South Carolina Libertarian presidential debate last time around. And candidates, ostensible, we all know they're not really candidates for the presidency, but ostensible candidates for the presidency were saying things like, well, if I'm elected, I'll eliminate Social Security tomorrow. No, you won't. Of course you won't. Why? Because you can't. That would take 100 years to wind down. We've actually done the math. You should wind it down. You should allow people to opt out of it. These are just freedom issues. But you can't just eliminate that tomorrow. We didn't get here because somebody yesterday said, let's have Social Security. So too Medicare. You can't just take that away. You have to figure out how to unravel that. And unraveling that's going to be very difficult, right? So they start with these idiotic things, which utterly guarantee that as a political party, they will go nowhere.
Well, even whether and to what extent they're right on the merits, like the dynamics of the constituency groups that currently benefit from Social Security, the ones that are about to, the ones that have paid into the system, and all the people who think it's a grand idea. That alone is enough of a problem. But the idea that you think that you're going to be some sort of libertarian monarch that just comes in and
that's right. Waves that magic scepter. Right?
Yeah.
The elder wand that they all seem to think they have.
You're a monarchist libertarian and not a Republican in the sense of a republic.
Yeah, smaller.
Yeah, that sounds about right, though. It's like standing up and saying what you believe we ought to do is not giving us an idea of how you're going to get there.
It's utterly goofy and also utterly goofy. Can you, with a straight face, be an open borders person in a welfare state? What are you thinking? I mean, come on. Look, I'm very much in favor of scrapping our entire immigration system. It's corrupt, it's worthless, it's bad in almost every way.
Yes, indeed.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have one. That means you shouldn't have that one. And if you want to have open borders, I'm with you. Okay, let's unravel the entire welfare state first.